Oh, look at that. We're recording.
We're recording. It's another podcast. Should we introduce?
Who are you?
Who do you think I am? Don't you know who I think I am?
Queen Elizabeth.
No. Hi, I am Vince.
And I'm Justin.
And this is Boozie Bear's Knitting Podcast.
It is.
It is.
It is. It's like a podcast about knitting and stuff.
Yes, well, it's actually a YouTube channel, but
a fibercast,
yes,
if you will.
But everyone calls them a podcast.
Yes.
So there you go. We are coming to you from beautiful Buffalo, New York.
Yes, Buffalo, New York.
Just a tiny bit snowy today.
Or as it's been dubbed recently, we're coming to you from Josh Allentown.
Yes. You are in the heart of Josh.
I am in the heart of Josh Allentown.
So, but go Bills, go sports ball, pick that thing up, put it down someplace else. As you can tell, I'm not a big football fan.
I might be.
He's one of those. But you know what? I think it would be great if they went to the Super Bowl. It would be amazing if they won because it would do great things for the city.
Oh, absolutely.
I was around 25 years ago last time they were in the Super Bowl, and the mindset always is, small struggling cities that wind up having a Super Bowl team, it turns things around, and that would be a great thing for Western New York. So. And it would kind of be ironic that the Buffalo Bills would go to the Super Bowl and win during the middle of a global pandemic.
Yes.
That
just makes sense.
Just makes sense. So that's that. So go Bills. Hopefully they will get to the Super Bowl. Like I said, I think it would be great for the city. So what's been going on with you otherwise?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
No.
Yeah. We are still facing the pandemic. This has been the longest time that I have ever not worked. The last time was in 2007 during the recession of W. Bush. And I was out of work for like 10 months. I have not worked since March. And I'm going to be starting classes for web development, which will hopefully open up opportunities for me. So we'll be rearranging our...
That didn't work.
No, it didn't. We'll be rearranging our recording schedule because 3 nights a week I have a 4.5-hour class. So that happens during when we regularly do our recording, so we'll be working around that. Should be fun.
We're
sure
versatile.
Yes, I'm sure I'll have stories to share in future episodes.
Oh boy.
So that's the excitement of my life. Don't have much else. Butterbug is not going to tell us what's going on.
Just been working.
Yeah.
That's all I do is work.
At least you're able to. I'm at that point of I haven't worked in so long. The thought of going back to work is not appealing. If I could financially afford to retire, I think I would really consider it, but that just is not going to happen.
No, because you're old, but you're not quite
old enough. Yes, Had this happened like in maybe 3 years, it would be like, okay, I was going to retire soon, but this really screwed up my plans. It's like almost a year of not putting into my retirement fund. So enough of that. Let's move on to the businesses at hand.
Yes.
And we don't have anything for the next item. Let's be different. Let's make this the dry episode. Really shock them all.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. We don't have a cocktail ready. So
oh, man.
We're going to make you all wonder what's wrong with us, aside from what you see.
We're drying out this week.
Yeah.
Wring out our livers.
little more blood in our alcohol streams. So that's that. For the past couple of episodes, we've talked about a different subject. Last episode was the men's knitting retreats. The one before that, we talked about the Buffalo Knitting Guild. So this episode, we said, well, let's talk about other podcasts, because between the two of us, we watched quite a few of them.
Yes.
And some of them were our inspiration. Some of them were, we could do this, or we would be so good at this. So we said, well, let's just list what we watch, what we liked, what we wish they'd podcast more because they aren't, and give our opinions, because if you've been with us for this long, you've realized we're a little opinionated.
Just a touch.
We have an opinion, and some people think it's funnier than hell. Others unsubscribe. But you know what? Had they stayed, they wouldn't have been happy with what we were doing.
Exactly.
So podcasts. Of course, the first one. Gotta love them. Grocery Girls Knits.
Yes.
They are too funny. They make me laugh. It's amusing to watch their early episodes as opposed to now.
Oh my God!
Because they were so polite and so careful not to offend in the first 10 episodes, and now the F-bombs drop, and they'll call each other a bitch, and they are who they are, and you gotta love them.
And that's honestly the best. That's my favorite thing about that one, is that they are themselves, and
there's nothing phony about them.
Like you can tell that they're sisters.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can tell they're sisters.
At first I wasn't sure. I'm like, are they lesbian girlfriends? And then I'm like, oh no, they're related. They're sisters. And they both have husbands.
Always was him thinking that the women are lesbians.
It's not the first time I've done this, but they are a hell of a lot of fun. They are amazingly talented. There's so much I learned from them. So many vendors and dyers and different types of yarn.
Oh yeah.
It's just they are a plethora of information, and they're just a lot of fun.
And not to mention, both of them are fabulous designers as well.
Yes, they have great designs, and they are very much supportive of the community, and they're passionate in their beliefs. There is nothing phony about those two ladies, and they make no excuses. They are who they are. If you don't like that, well, you don't like them, and
and they don't care.
Yeah, that's that. So definitely that was a big inspiration. I think a lot of podcasters aspire to be the grocery girls, and they are very humbled by that, and they will shout out to new podcasters. They did to us. We were watching one time, and they rambled on about how fabulous we were, and that's why a lot of you joined on with us. So love them a lot. You can ramble about the next one.
Oh, the next one. He wants me to do the next one because I'm the one that got him into this one.
Yes. You told me about that.
I think that this was before I even knew about the Grocery Girls. Like, I think you were watching the Grocery Girls because they were still fairly new. And I found this one just by chance right after I started knitting, and I was like, whoa, this one is two guys. Do you
want to tell them which one we're talking about?
I'm getting there. Yeah, old hag.
You're rambling, and our audience is wondering, ooh. Don't give me the look over the glasses.
Anyways.
Your phone hasn't fallen into the river.
Anyways, I'm talking about Sweet Tea No Shade. That's Scott and John. That's where we get the, I'm Vince, I'm Justin, and we're not married.
And we're not married.
Because that's how they started out, we're Scott and John and we're married. But no, I started watching them, I would say probably from right at about the beginning of when they started. Because I was working overnights, I had just taught myself how to knit. I don't even think I'd been to the Great Lakes Men's Knitting Retreat.
Ding!
Yet.
Yes, you were very much a newbie then.
Yes, and I was like, oh my god, Vince, you have to watch these guys. They're too funny. I was like, they're just, it's a gay couple. It's two guys that knit. I was like, it just...
And they are
perfect.
They are an old married couple.
Oh,
they are too
absolutely.
Funny. They know how to needle each other, quite literally. But God knows they'd be lost without each other.
They're, as we always say, they're the type of couple where they can't break up because who else would put up with them?
Nobody. Which I've always said, when you think about it, that is the sign of a really great relationship.
Oh, absolutely. It is. When you find that one person that puts up with you and you know that nobody else would, you better hold on to it.
Because I do say that to a lot of friends of mine who are couples. I'll be like, oh, who the hell else would put up with either of you? And most times it's a compliment. There are certain ones that it's not, but we won't talk about that. But they are a lot of fun, and it's a different. They have their own outlook, and from their location and their experience level, and Scott is not afraid to try anything. I do sometimes think I watch and I'm like, oh Scott, why are you making this so much more difficult? Stop taking something simple and making it hard. If you want to do that, find something that does that. But he will go right ahead and
he'll do it.
And he'll do it. He will do it. And sometimes it is insanely successful. Sometimes not so much. But they love what they're doing, and they're between the two of them, there is a whole lot of talent there.
Oh, absolutely.
They are definitely fearless knitters. They're not afraid to try something.
No, John is like, some of the stuff that he's made is like my inspiration for wanting to do color work. I haven't done it yet, but I see stuff that he does. But he does Portuguese knitting though.
Yes.
When he does his color work, which I tried that once. Yeah, no, I can't. It's not for me. But like some of the stuff that he does.
I think Portuguese knitting is easier if you're a continental knitter.
It just I can do the damn continental knit stitch. I cannot purl continental to save my life. If someone out there has the magic lesson on continental purling.
Not that he's asked someone he knows who's a continental knitter.
Excuse you.
You have never mentioned issues with purling continental.
She must have had too many nasty Nancy's at the retreat.
At the retreat, we're all just idiots,
Yes.
It's been over a year and a half since we were at a retreat.
Yeah, I just Yeah.
Now they're gonna think, oh, these two, they're just as bad as the married ones. So we like Scott and John, and they life has gotten busy for them, and they have not recorded as often as they used to, but it's good to see them when they do. John usually posts on Instagram, so I see stuff he does. He finished the green hat.
Oh yeah,
that came out really nice. I'm assuming the woman in the photograph is the one who received it, because she looked too darn happy to be wearing it. So that's them. Next, we like to pick on these boys way too much because they deserve it. Needles at the ready. Kevin and Ray, they are too funny. They are so supportive of each other. It's like they are each other's biggest fan. And they are just great guys. And
They just, basically what we're trying to say is they just make us jealous every time we watch them, and that's why we keep going back. No, I mean, not to mention they're pretty to look at too.
Yes, they are both very good looking guys. And I know we're not the only ones who think that.
Not at all.
Not at all.
But yeah, like that's another one that I don't know how many times that I've seen them knit something and I'm like, oh, over to Ravelry, gotta, add that to my library, add that to my, like, I feel like their knitting tastes, pattern wise, not always colors, but pattern wise, I constantly have to go and like favorite stuff as I'm watching their episode because
a lot of times I'll like be watching it because I watch it on my Apple TV and I'll like grab the phone and go on to Ravelry and say, oh, because I know if I don't, I'll forget. And they are more willing to try things than they admit. I think if they had thought about things, they might not have tried it, but just jumping in and doing it, I mean, they started dying. I'm like, ooh, another obsessive compulsive fiber habit. Do not learn to spin.
Their yarn pantry, as they call it, is about to explode, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of people with the organized yarn pantry. Them and Ross and Justin and Caleb. It's like mine are in Rubbermaid totes, which were organized at one time.
Yeah, I have no semblance of organization for my yarn.
I have stuff everywhere. I mean, it's sort of like this is kind of wool, and this is kind of sock yarn. This is kind of acrylic wool blends, but there's stuff that I just don't know where it is.
So, and that's the thing is I have one of those in my bedroom. I have one of those shells with the cubes, and it was holding my TV, but the TV died, and I'm like, oh, I should bring that out here and put my yarn in it because everybody does that. It's perfect for that. Have I done that yet? No. Am I going to do that in the near future? Probably not.
At the beginning of the shutdown, I was like, I'm going to organize my yarn stash. That was in April. It's now January going on February. And I start school in February, so I'll have so much time.
And we know how busy you've been for this entire...
I am so busy.
Shut down.
So busy. I've knit so much. Hey, I have been doing online classes.
Yes, but
and I've been looking for a job. Christ. But back to podcasts.
Yes.
Okay, so the next one.
What do we got next on our list of? Oh, the fiber hussies. I mean, fiber hustle.
Tomato.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So Fiber Hustle is one of those ones that was another one I think that I found.
You found and you said you have to watch these two.
You have to watch these guys. Like they're so tragic and they're just
funny as hell.
They're us. Yes. I mean they're our.
If you watch Fiber Hustle and you don't laugh, well, that means you don't have a sense of humor.
Exactly.
Because they are a riot. They are hysterical.
They're just absolutely ridiculous, and I absolutely love it.
And again, they are that couple. Who else would put
on my God, yes. Oh my God, yes.
And we say that in the nicest way possible.
Yes.
Because
we do love them, because they actually they're one of the, big ones that they watch us. Because they comment on our videos here and stuff like that. And, like, that we appreciate that, like, so much. Like, that, I mean...
Absolutely.
The fact that they get entertainment out of watching us, I mean, that anybody gets entertainment out of us still baffles us. Because, I mean, we find ourselves very entertaining, but...
We think we're hysterical.
The fact that anybody else thinks that we're hysterical is mind-blowing.
But they were on a hiatus for a bit. Chip had a bit of a colorant issue. And I just shook my head and said, this is why you go to professionals.
Right. They also do I think they said it's going to be bi-monthly now, their bingo.
Mm-hmm.
I always forget to sign up for it. But one of these times I'm going to remember to sign up for bingo.
You'll have to send me the information and I'll send you a reminder when I get my reminder says sign up for it.
Right.
Because I hear about it and I'm like, how do you do this? How do you get in this?
It fills up so quickly because it's so much fun, but we're gonna get there.
A few of the podcasts do talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So next is Smells Like Yarn.
Yes.
Which is Ross.
I don't know. I don't know that one. I don't think I've ever watched that one. Who's Ross?
Ross. Yeah, we've only made it. How many of his hats?
Right.
And he's gotten onto TikTok. He was very hesitant about it, and now he keeps popping up. Well, because you just do those little 60-second videos, and
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never made a TikTok video in my life.
Really, Queen? Let's not get started on TikTok videos.
Where are you going?
Yeah, visitor.
Oh, no, okay, going over there.
So, love his patterns. Highly jealous of his yarn organization and collection.
His yarn store that he lives in.
Yes. It's like, I wish I feel somebody bopping behind me.
What are you doing?
The tail was hitting my back. And he does post a lot. He'll do a lot of little short, quick videos because I log into YouTube and I see my subscriptions and there's like 5 from Ross since the last time I was on. And I'm like, he just posts so much.
Right.
But love his hat patterns. The Ross hat has kind of become my go-to. And, just fun and interesting and good guy. He really is.
Oh, absolutely. Again, he's another one that that I'll message Vince and I'll pick on him about things that he says sometimes, but it's all in fun. I haven't watched the episode from yesterday yet. I was too tired last night. I was too tired last night. Then I went into my bedroom and was like, oh, I'll watch an episode of Bridgerton. I finished the entire season.
8?
But yes, we do love Ross. I watch Ross all the time. I haven't purchased from Premier Yarns yet, but he talks about them all the time, and I go on their website all the time. I'm shocked that I haven't bought anything yet.
You buy yarn online?
I would never do such a thing.
It's a good thing you're working.
It's a really good thing I'm working.
That's what keeps me from behaving. Okay, so you can go on the next one.
Oh, the Bearded Pearl. It's another one that, like I said, another one that I turned Vince on to. He wasn't too sure about them at first because they like to ramble.
They ramble a bit in the beginning,
and then we realized that we're kind of the same.
I have no idea what you're talking about. We're only 24 minutes in, and we're actually discussing knitting content.
this week.
this week.
Um,
There were a couple times I almost segued.
but no, I watched them the first time, and I'll admit that the first time I watched it, I was more focused on the fact that Caleb is adorable and not the fact that they're knitting. Listen, I have a type.
I think my shocked face.
I have a type, and I admit it.
No.
But I've grown to love their podcast. I watch every episode. I watched their latest one last night.
The side eyes and eye rolls that Justin gets, and he laughs about them. He
You can
revels.
tell.
He revels in causing them.
You can tell that he gets it all the time.
Yes.
Like it was just so funny, and
The zippered cardigan that he was wearing in the last
Oh,
episode,
so
that
beautiful.
was amazing.
So beautiful.
The color was beautiful.
and I don't like green, but it definitely. You are just so comfy right here, aren't you? This wouldn't be so bad if he wasn't such a chub.
Well, because he's starving, because you never feed
Yes,
him.
he's always starving. But yeah, like there's a lot of. I've definitely learned a lot from them. That's when I referred to potentially making my sleeves shorter on my Flax sweater. That idea I actually got because Caleb, in the sweater that he just made, he didn't actually make the sleeves shorter, but he made them basically easier to be able to stay up on his arms.
He changed the decreases so that
Yeah.
when he pushes them up,
It's tighter.
they're snug and it doesn't poof out.
But yeah, there's a lot of great things I've seen from them. I always look forward to their episodes. Yeah, we like the bearded pro.
And Drowning in Yarn. I don't know if I found this or if you told me about him.
I think it was just one of the ones that was suggested on our YouTube once he made it.
I think so. And I was like, hey, there's this guy in Chicago and he knits. And he, he's very prolific and talented, and he's not afraid to try different things. He's come up with some really great suggestions, and we have friends who are in Chicago, so he talks about different places in Chicago. So you see that, you see places you know or we've been to, so it's fun to see that.
And it's nice because I like his podcast because it's not like ours and a lot of the other ones where it's set up like, oh, we're gonna go through, this is stuff that we made, this is stuff that we bought, blah blah blah. Like he'll actually have like an entire topic. Like
Yes.
each podcast is like, I'm gonna teach you about this, or I'm gonna talk to you about how I did this. Like,
Well, and because he's doing it alone, he doesn't have someone to bounce off of. So it's good. It's his strength is that he's that organized.
Yes.
He has a plan. And his podcasts are fairly short. They're usually just a little over half an hour. So he don't have the mutual jackassery rambling, which some people find charming. But he's very informative, and he does some beautiful work. He's definitely not afraid to knit. Okay.
who's next?
Do you watch
On
them?
the Needles. I don't watch them as often as you do. On the Needles. It's
The woman Nancy
friends,
from
right? No.
Nancy from
Oh
Trilogy
no!
Yarns.
Yes. I'm thinking of a
Catherine?
completely different podcast. Yes, I do. I do watch them. I
Yeah.
do love them.
Yeah, because Kevin from Needles at the Ready recommended them. And I remember he mentioned them, and I went looking, and I found this other podcast of two women, and I'm like, oh no, these would not be people that Kevin would recommend. There were undertones of homophobia there. So we didn't watch them, and then I found them, and I'm like, okay, this is the one. And they're a couple of great ladies and very talented. Nancy she owns Trilogy Yarns, and more and more of her stuff she knits out of her own yarns. And Catherine she used to work for Knitters magazine, I think. That company. So they both, they've both.
Another one I'm shocked I haven't bought from yet is Trilogy.
Yeah, her stuff is really nice. She has great colors.
That new colorway, the llamas and drag.
Yeah. And how neither of us is not in her happy hour club, I don't understand. Because you'd think that would be us all over it,
right?
But I keep saying you're unemployed and you don't need to buy yarn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what keeps me behaving. Damn pandemic. Okay, you can talk about him because you found him.
So if you saw, what was it, Instagram, I think I posted when I found his podcast. It's called Knack Chat. That's Zach. He's he's a young guy. I think he's like 21-ish, maybe
22,
something like that. He's in college still.
Yeah.
But he's a young kid. He works at a yarn store. He's phenomenal knitter. Like blows me out of the water. That's for sure. Like,
he was definitely a knitter in a previous life.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like like in the last episode, like I swear he was working on a sweater. And then I'm like scrolling through Instagram the other day, and it's like, oh, that sweater's done. I'm like,
Yeah, he's fast. He is a fast knitter.
I'm like, you'll see here that like I've made a lot of progress on my sweater, but it's not anywhere near done. Like,
he's also on the more petite side, so he doesn't have to make quite as much yardage
This is a good point.
as we might need to.
he probably has like a quarter of the stitches on a body
Yeah.
round as I do.
Yeah, I'm sure he makes an extra small, but a sweet guy. He's
Yes.
really you can tell he loves what he's doing, and he's very passionate about it.
He gets very, very excited when he
Yes,
talks about his stuff and his job. And
Yes, and he's thrilled to have followers. I messaged him through Instagram, and he was just so excited because he knew our podcast, and he's like, "Oh, you guys shouted me out, thank you so much," and he was so happy about that. He's a really nice kid, so we like him. He did a second short episode, so looking forward
I
to
think I missed.
Yeah, it was recently, very
must have missed
recent, and it was a short one, kind of like going through the shop. It wasn't a whole.
Oh, you know what? I think I did see that come
Yeah,
up, and I think
yeah.
I forgot to go back and watch it.
So, but very nice, and I think he'll as he grows, and I mean he's very comfortable in front of the camera, so he'll do well. Okay, next one is another one that you told me about, Piece for Piece Crafting.
Oh yeah, and I just sort of stumbled across. That's Michael.
Mm-hmm.
I just sort of stumbled across his, because once you start following all these knitting podcasts, they keep telling you to watch more
Yes,
and more and
you
more
get
of them.
suggestions, and it's like the exciting thing is when YouTube says people who watch Boozie Bear's knitting
Right.
also watch. I squeed when I saw that. I'm like, ooh, we're YouTube famous,
Right.
or at least we are on my Apple TV.
Anyways, that's Michael. He's also in Chicago, actually.
Yeah, actually, I think he just moved. I don't know if he left the city or if he just moved someplace else in Chicago. He posted about moving, I think, today.
I must have missed that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, He was in Chicago.
I think he's still in Chicago. I think he might.
I think so, because I think he works there. So
Yeah,
I think that. But so I
unless
started.
Unless I'm totally wrong and it was somebody else, which is entirely possible. I could have done that. So
She's old, you know.
Old timers disease.
Old timers disease.
Hey.
So, anyways, Michael, piece for piece crafting. I caught him right. It was right after he had posted his first episode, actually, and I think I started watching it while I was at work the one night, and then I had to turn it off, and then like a couple days later, I was like scrolling through my history looking for a video that I had watched, and I was like, oh my god, I never finished that. I remember like I restarted the whole thing and I watched it again, and I was like, oh yep, subscribe, you know, notification bell. I was like I like him. He looks he's so talented. He knits, I believe he designs, he also crochets. I think that's it. I don't think he does. He might do other things, but I paid attention to the knitting and crocheting. I think is he a dancer or something like that too? I think so.
I'm not sure.
I think he was a dancer. It's not what he does for a living now.
He works like
He works for a not-for-profit or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's awesome, and he's just one of those ones where, like, his podcast is kind of set up like the rest of them, where it's like go through all the stuff that's making and whatnot. But it's just like it's relaxed. Like it's like you went over to his living room and you're sitting down.
And he likes things. When he likes something, they're very dope.
Yes, they're dope.
That's very dope. I giggle whenever he says it. It is his ting.
It is his thing.
So if Michael likes something, it's very dope.
It's dope. But
at first I was like, what? And then it's grown on me. I think it's cute.
But
it's his personality.
Yeah,
it's his thing.
The thing is, watching his podcast, it's like you're just sitting down there in the living room, and he's like, oh hey, look at this thing that I made, and look at this thing that I made.
Yeah,
oh, look at this that I got.
Very
it's so
relaxed.
awesome.
He's
like,
very relaxed when he records his podcast.
Yes, like I really enjoy that. It's nice after you've like had a stressful day at work or something to come back, and it's like oh look, Michael posted another episode, so I can just like sit back, you know, have a glass of wine, grab my knitting, and just relax and watch Michael talk about his knitting. So I do love to watch his episodes. What else we got on there, Grandpa?
Chevy Rell. The first time I saw one of his episodes, one of her episodes, I messaged him and I said, this is what we need to aspire to be.
The second Tim was.
I watched the episode and she made a drink. I'm like, this is what I want us to be.
Yes, she was a big inspiration for us being the Boozie Bears.
I'm like,
podcast.
have you watched this?
And I think I subscribed to her because she popped up, and I don't think I'd watched her yet. And he mentioned it, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, she is my spirit animal. Like,
yes. She enjoys an adult beverage.
Very much so. And I think she is just like us, properly chilled. She would drink turpentine.
I think so.
Nothing better than when she makes a drink and she goes, yep, no, that doesn't taste like what it's supposed to be, but it's good, I'm going to drink it.
Can't let it go to waste.
Oh, yes.
But she's very funny, and she's very down to earth. And she's like, sometimes things don't work out. And she's like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I can relate to that when you do something and you're like, I'm really a good knitter. I don't know why this is happening. We'll bring that up later. But she's a lot of fun and she makes me laugh. So, and she's a little bit boozy.
Mm-hmm.
And we like a little bit boozy.
We do. Not that you can tell by this episode.
Yeah. I know. Who are we? Okay, these next two are more yours. Crazy Sock Lady?
Oh yes, the Crazy Sock Lady. Kay.
I think I've only watched one of hers.
I really enjoy hers just because I follow her on Instagram and both on my personal page and on our podcast page, and I just love to see the stuff that she makes, and she's a super talented designer, especially sock designer. Like, have you ever gone through her patterns? Like,
No.
Oh my god, she has tons of sock patterns, and they're just everything. I actually recently bought her. So she has a vanilla sock pattern, but she has it written out for DPNs, magic loop, and 9-inch circulars. So it's all the same sock, just she wrote it out completely for all three different forms, and I think she's currently working on how to do it on 2 circulars. So I mean, she's super talented.
I'm an old school sock knitter, and when I started knitting socks, you got a pattern. They were written for DPNs, and if you didn't use DPNs, you figured out how to do it on your own. Which is why I can knit socks on DPNs. I took a class on 2 needles at a time. I wasn't crazy about it. And that's where I learned how to do magic loop. And I said, I like this a whole lot better.
So, and that's the thing, is like in her podcasts and stuff, she's actually talked about that. The first, like, she knit one sock, one of a pair on 2 needles the first time she tried it. She's like, I really didn't like it, but she had been told to do it on 2 9-inch circulars.
Mm.
So she actually switched this time around to, I believe she's using 2 16-inch circulars. And she's like, it's actually not that bad when you do it again. Like, she's making herself do the entire pair of socks this way. And she's like, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And it does work really well. She says I think she basically equates it to being, it's like a mix of DPN and magic loop.
Yeah.
Like,
Adrienne from the Knitting Guild. She's a big sock knitter, and she's always done them on 2 circulars.
See, I never in a million years would have even thought to be like, oh, you know what? I could use 2 circular needles to do this. Like,
Okay, so I think. Oh no, and then Jessica.
Oh yes, Jessie. Dye Monkey Yarns, Knit Up and Dye podcast. I might have just.
Somebody might have ordered some yarn today.
Might have just spent a little bit more money in her shop again.
But you did get a good discount.
I did.
He showed me the billing on his phone, and I saw the first amount, and I'm like, ooh, and then I saw what it was after discount. I'm like, oh, well, that's not bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no,
But you're supporting an indie dyer.
Yes, and a very good friend of mine at this point. So she had this colorway. I talked about it in one of the other episodes. I think it's called Shark Attack. So it's like this. It's got reds and blues, and it's all like super vibrant and speckled. And I love it. So she dyed up some on her DK base as opposed to the fingering that she dyed it on before. And I was like, okay, well, let me go order this. And it just happens to say that, there's only 4 skeins in stock. And so I was like, well, if you insist. So I bought all 4 of them.
Well, why leave that one skein?
Exactly. I mean,
And what if you get the 3 and it's not enough to make what you want?
I mean,
It's always better to have more than not enough.
yes.
Especially with hand dyed, because then if you even said, oh, I need you to do another one, it might not match.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. One of these days I'm gonna be messaging her and being like, so I need I'm gonna need you to dye me a sweater quantity. But we're gonna wait on that for a little while. Because that's not gonna be cheap.
no.
But anyways, podcasts. We're here to talk about podcasts right now.
Yes.
And
Well, that was the end of my list.
well, yeah, but I didn't even talk about her podcast. All I talked about is that she dyes yarn and has a podcast.
That's right. You rambled on about
did.
your purchase.
Right? Wrong section. No, but Jesse's podcast, I love it because she has a theme or a quote or question, however you put it, and she shows like one finished object usually per episode, and then it's just sort of like a conversation about issues that they might pertain to knitting, they might pertain more so to just like everyday life and the stresses and stuff that we're all going through, whatnot, and it's almost like a therapy session. Like
Yes.
you sit through it and
There's a word for it, and of course I can't think of it. It'll come to me at the end of the episode.
but like her tone when she talks is just very calming, relaxing,
Yes.
and
She's like one of those meditative apps.
she really is.
Yeah.
Like it's just fun to sit and listen to her, and like, especially while you're knitting and
Yeah, it's very thought-provoking, and
absolutely.
you know what I mean.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
word escapes me.
All right. Anyways, moving on.
So those are a bunch of podcasts that we like and we follow, and subscribe to them, support them, comment on them, give them some love.
Yes.
If we've mentioned some that you haven't heard of, give them a try. That's how we
Yeah, absolutely.
got them. It's like we heard of this, and it's like, oh, these two are too funny, or wow, they are great knitters. And especially the podcast done by male knitters, it's part of, for us, it's the community, because men knitters are still the oddity.
Yep.
So it builds that community, and you see other guys who knit, and it's not so much that oddball thing. There are others, and because if I hear one more person compare me to Rosie Greer, I'm like, I'm 62 years old. Rosie Greer was popular when I was a teenager, and he didn't knit. He did needlepoint and macrame. And I don't need the comparison of a football player to justify my craft and my art. Let me step off of my soapbox. I've said my piece. Anyways, so those are knitting podcasts, and we like them, and we love those guys.
We do.
And show them some love. So why don't we move on to some real knitting content?
Yes.
The
Since
works
we're
in-
only 50 minutes in.
50 minutes in,
Oh.
and we've yet to show a piece of, but at least we did talk about knitting content.
We did.
So works in progress. How many do you have?
I have three-ish.
Okay.
Three?
So you start, because I have 2.
Yes, I have three.
Okay.
All right. So, like I said, I was talking about the Crazy Sock Lady podcast. I know I've shown this on here before, but I think maybe it was only in the first episode, I think. Because I had just recently started it, and I haven't really touched it much since. Because I needed... So, got to ramble a little bit about this. So, this project would have had a lot more work done on it, but I stole the needles off of it to use to make mittens. And I made the mittens, put the needles away, went to start this project again, and I was like, oh, let me go grab the needles out of my, that brand new interchangeable set that I had bought. And I lost one of my size 4 needles. Just one. I had the other one. And so I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
It's in an alternate universe.
Looked up buying replacements at one point, and I found them, and it was like, Jesus, I might as well order another interchangeable set. Finally, I found on Amazon that they had the needles, and they weren't overly expensive. They were like maybe $10, so I'm like, okay, I can do that. But anyways, the project that I'm speaking of is the Round and Round cowl. This is by Kay, the Crazy Sock Lady. It is in fingering weight. This is... I didn't write it down because I knew exactly what it was, and now I don't. But it'll be in the show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes.
It's on the project page in Ravelry. But this is actually, it's an MCN. Like I said, fingering weight, hand dyed. It is so deliciously soft, to tell you. And I can't wait for this to be finished, because this basically, I would say this is about a quarter of the way done, because this cowl is actually meant to be quite long and then scrunch up down on your neck. But I adore this yarn because it's got that gray, then it has so many other speckles of color in it that it's just perfect. But yes, so Round and Round cowl by the Crazy Sock Lady. Hopefully by the next episode I will have a lot more of this done.
Okay.
On to you.
On to me. So, I've been working on my Reynolds Icelandic sweater, which you have a low battery thing.
Uh-oh. There we go.
Okay. So, I believe I had the sleeves done last episode.
Red ones. I don't know, you had both of them because we talked about the arm dickies.
The arm dickies, yes. Yes. Friends of ours found that very amusing. So we got that, and I've been working on the body. Ooh. I am almost to the point where I will be joining the arms. Yeah, I don't think I have. I believe I'm almost at the length that the pattern calls for, but I like my bodies to be a little bit longer because the middle makes it ride up a bit, and I don't like when my sweater is coming up at the back around the waist.
Showing your pantaloons.
Yes, showing my pantaloons. So I'm probably going to go like an extra inch and a half, and then I'll add the arms and work on the yoke. I do remember when I made this previously, the increases for the larger sizes made the yoke insanely big. I remember the first time I had to rip it back, and I think I reknit it as the small, just because I don't have the huge upper body that the very handsome model did. So I might just do like a couple extra rows between the pattern pieces, but I'm not gonna do all those increases and stuff that they did. I will say, working on this has inspired me to find an interest in sweaters, and stash diving has shown that I have a couple of sweaters quantities of yarn in my stash. I know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we do that, you know, that Knitting Guild auction. So a couple times I've bought a sweater's worth and just never used it. And there was that time at the Great Lakes Men's Knitting Retreat, ding. Where Papa Bear knits. What's his name? Jay. I'm like, I can picture him, but I can't think of him. Jay brought all that yarn that he had, and I know I bought a sweater's worth.
Yes.
So I have at least 2, possibly 3 sweaters worth of yarn in my stash.
And if you made a multicolored sweater, I bet you have even more than that.
Absolutely. So, and I've been looking at patterns. I do like the Flax. I also have Ann Budd's Knitter's Handybook of top-down sweaters. So, ton of options there. So once this is done, I'll be swatching for another one.
Oh boy.
So that is that. Back to you.
Speaking of a Flax, I think I have one of those sitting around.
Really?
Alright. So, you've seen it before, but not in a while. Well, if you follow us on Instagram, you've seen it quite a bit lately. But I've been working on my Flax sweater again now that all the Christmas knitting and everything is done. And I am currently about 6 inches away from the ribbing at this point. You can see that I separated for the sleeves, and it's just literally the continuous rounds and round and round.
Rounds and rounds and endless rounds of stockinette knitting.
But I'm excited because like I said, only about 6-ish inches left to go. Let's see. I won't put it on right now because that would require putting on another piece of cable, and I don't want to do that right now. So go to our Instagram, and there's actually a picture of me wearing it.
And it looks like it fits you good.
Yes, it does. I was worried because my original measurement was from my chest, and I was like, I wonder how that's going to translate to, you know, the gut. And it's a little snug around the gut, but also it hasn't been blocked yet.
Yeah.
It's wool. It's non-superwash wool, so, I mean, I'm sure once I put it on the blocking mat, give it a little stretch and let it dry.
Yeah. And plus, when you block it, it smooths out the stitches, it relaxes a bit, and knitting does grow.
Yes.
When
it does.
When you wash it.
So
and wear it.
So I am knitting that out of Wool of the Andes by Knit Picks. I rave about it all the time on Instagram because I love working with it. It's the perfect sweater yarn.
That yarn has improved from when they first released it.
I mean, it's even from like feeling the stuff that you had pulled out of your stash for your Wallaby sweater as compared to this. It's like
there was Cascade.
Well, no, the one of the colors, the stripe, I think, was
the
Wool of the Andes.
The green, the evergreen.
Yeah, just the difference between it wasn't bad, the stuff that you had, but this stuff is even better. Like they've improved it more.
Isn't that superwash?
No,
it's not.
No, this is the non-superwash.
Okay. Yeah. Very early Wool of the Andes. While it was very affordable, it was a little rough, and they've improved it a bit.
Oh, very much so. And I mean, it's $3.50 for a 50-gram ball of it. I mean, that's insane to me. Like that, it's such nice yarn and it's very inexpensive. Like I said, it's been great to work with. I am using my interchangeable set, and I actually just, when I bought the replacement needles, I bought a, I think 47-inch cord to put it on for the sweater. So that's working quite well, and it's in a new bag that I'll show you in acquisitions too.
Ooh. Wow. Next up, I did mention I have talked about the afternoon shadow shawl, which I'm making 2 because my cousin and her girlfriend have gotten engaged and they will be getting married, I think, this year. So they don't know about it, but I don't think they watch the podcast, so I think it's safe to talk about it. Well, I was making the first one, which I've shown previously, and I struggled with it a bit. The pattern, I didn't like how things were looking on the color changes. I got lazy following the pattern, so I made some oopsies, like forgetting to do a bind off at the beginning of a section, doing 1 row too many or 1 row too less on the color changes. So it had a few errors in it. And I said, well, you know what? For me, I like this a lot. To give to somebody, I don't want these mistakes. So I decided I'd finish that one. It was a learning experience. I will have that for my finished objects, and I will make 2 new ones to give to them. So this one I had just started it. I had cast on and maybe did 2 sets of color at the very beginning. I am loving this color combination. The mix of colors, because it's trekking XXL sock yarn, and in the ball, it's like, okay, that's nice. But against the black,
Yeah, that
it just
pops so much.
it pops. And the thing is, I think I might have enough to be able to use this yarn. To use this yarn on both of them. So I may use the trekking for the accent color, and then do like another neutral for the main color. So and the other one, what you see as black, will be the multi, and what's the multi will be like, I'm gonna see if I can put a brown or a gray, something neutral. But I'm doing much better on this one. This bind off at the beginning of each section, it's been tripping me up, and it's always after I've done 20 rows, and I'm like, rip it back, because I refuse to give a gift that has an obvious mistake. I have now written in red marker at the beginning and end of each section, start new section, bind off 5 stitches. Let's see if that works.
We'll see.
We'll see. It's one of those, but otherwise, there was one where I threw in an extra garter bridge, and I said, blind man on a passing pony ain't gonna notice it, so I'll let that one go. But I am liking it, and I think they will both be pleased, excited, and all sorts of Twitter pated when I send it to them.
Oh, what faux show.
So, back to you.
Yes, back to me.
Back to you.
Back to me.
What you got?
Alright, this is another work in progress that I've shown before.
This has been hibernating for a while.
If I can find the goddamn top of it. There we go.
I have a very inappropriate comment.
You know, we're always looking for a top.
Always so difficult to find a good top.
So that's, I don't, there we go. Alright, so this is my blanket that I have been making for quite some time now. It's not a pattern, it's just something that I came up with on my own. Basically, it's just half double crochet, 11 11 rows per stripe, and it's made out of Karen 1 pound. The blue is called Royalty. The other one is called Soft Gray Mix. This is sort of I need to stop knitting on that sweater, so I'm going to pick up the blanket and crochet for a little while project.
That was why I was making so many hats the last episode. Today I really felt like making a hat.
So, I mean, the great thing about it right now, though, is that now it's gotten to the point where while I'm crocheting on it, it can go over my legs and cover my legs.
You are very blanket-like.
Yes, it's very, very nice and cozy.
And this is the time of year to work on a project that's very blanket-like.
Oh yeah. But I mean, so the width of this is actually the size of a queen size bed, so it's quite large. And I intend to make it the length of a queen size bed as well. So I am probably a little under halfway, because I probably got about 3 feet, and I believe a queen size bed is just over 6 feet. I think.
I think this is more than 3 feet, because it's like from your nose to your is a yard.
Yeah, okay.
So
So I'm probably
maybe,
about halfway.
Yeah, maybe like 3.5 feet, just under 3.5 feet.
Yeah, I'm probably about halfway to a full blanket. So maybe by next winter I'll actually finish
You can
it.
always throw it on top of the bed and see how it looks.
Yes, I haven't done that yet, actually. I've just been crocheting on it and then covering myself up with it because it's very warm.
It's like Jess says with her sock yarn blanket that she calls the how do you eat an elephant?
Mm-hmm.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
So
yep, that is my last work in progress.
Work in progress. Now for the finished objects pose. I have one.
I have 2. So I guess that means that I go again.
You start.
All
You're gonna be starting something.
So this is gonna shock everyone when they see it.
Did you have something finished?
No, just what it is.
Would that be a Ross hat?
It is. It's a Ross hat.
It can't be for you.
No. God, no.
I was to say that little tiny thing will not fit on your melon.
Almost. But no, I messed up my hair.
You must your cloth.
No, this is actually for my brother-in-law. He's one of those twig people, with a normal size head. But this is the hat that is the same as the one that I gave away to match the mittens that I had made. So it's out of the Crystal Palace Yarns Merino 5. Very soft and squishy. And
squishies.
It's a Ross hat. I think it's a Ross hat with a few less decreases because I had him try it on when I was over there. He'd have gotten it that day. But wouldn't you know, I didn't bring another ball of yarn with me, and I knew that I needed another ball of yarn to finish the hat because I only need a little bit. I only need a little bit more. So now I have to wait until I see him again to get this to him or mail it. I'll just wait until I see him again. I'm not going to mail it to him.
With the way the mail is going?
Yeah. I don't want it to get lost.
Yeah.
Or just never show up for a month.
Mom got her credit card statement and she sent her payment on the 15th of December. Her payment was due January 2nd. It didn't get made. The payment didn't show up by the time the payment was due. So of course, it didn't show. She got charged the late fees. So I had to call the bank today. That was so much fun.
Anyways, yeah, that's the Ross hat. That's it.
So, as I was speaking of earlier,
Ooh.
this was the first afternoon shadows that I made. I mean, in spite of the issues and problems, it really came out nice. I like how it looks. I mean, I'm more than happy to keep this for myself. Fabulous. I mean, I took pictures and I showed him, and he's like, I zoomed in and I'm not seeing it. I said, yeah, but I know what the mistakes are. I said, if you looked closely, you would see it. And I said, I can't give this as a gift, but I like it enough to keep it for myself.
I think he made the mistakes on purpose. So
no, there were some at the beginning, the color changes. My color changes have improved a lot, and there are some times where I did extra garter ridges or not enough garter ridges, and I think I did one of my infamous forgot to do the bind offs at the. So there were enough issues that I said I'm not gonna. There's enough problems that I don't want to give it away, but there's not enough problems that I'm gonna rip the damn thing out and start over. So I said this was a learning experience, and actually when I did this I was struggling with it. The work in progress is going along much smoothly.
Yeah.
Because
always works better the second time around.
As far as I got, took on this one, took me twice as long to get that far. Because I was struggling with it. I was not liking working on it. I was like, did I make a mistake choosing this pattern? But now that I have a completed one and I'm working on that, I'm sailing along. It's, I'm very comfortable working on it. It's just that one thing that I gotta make sure I do. But like I said, it's in red on the pattern, and I've been putting my pattern out while I work. It's especially when you're getting to the end of a section. So, but I'm very happy with that for me.
Yes.
So, back to you.
All right, on to me. So, this is a special finished object, not because of what it is, but because of what it's for. So we've talked about the charity organization that we belong to. One of our organizations that we donate money to is a not-for-profit known as Locust Street Art, which is an organization that provides art classes to people that normally couldn't afford them or wouldn't have the opportunity to, just to do them. Like, it's based in a very underserved part of the city, but they're actually going to be doing virtual classes. They already did some, but they're coming back for a winter session of free weekend classes that are all going to be done on Zoom. And my good friend Ray, who is the executive director there, has actually asked me to teach a class on how the basics of knitting, and they had me pick out a pattern, and I wanted something that was going to give all of the most basic techniques. So I chose the Copycat dishcloth. It is a large dishcloth, but it does it does garter, it does stockinette. What else? There's slip stitches in it because you slip the first stitch of every row. You purl the last stitch of every row. So it's a very good beginner's pattern. I personally, obviously, I've been knitting for a while, so this only took me like 2 days of intermittent working on it to finish this. And I really like the way it came out. It's actually really nice and like drapey, and I would say I would even call this more of a washcloth than a dishcloth.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could totally see using this like in the shower or something.
Yeah.
And it's a free pattern on Ravelry. Obviously, it'll be in the show notes. It's made out of, that is Lily Sugar and Cream in the colorway Hot Purple. I believe is what that's called. But I mean, it's perfect for a gift because you can fold it into quarters and make a couple of them, stack it up, and
little bar soap.
Yep. Which might end up being what happens with this. But yeah, it's the Copycat dishcloth, and I think that's all I got.
Okay. Now to one of the favorite sections.
Oh my!
I've gotten a great amount of feedback on people who like vintage knitting, and there was this one. I was like, this is one that they're all gonna go, oh my! But I couldn't find the pattern for it, and I'm like, I gotta have the pattern for this because the difference between the pattern and what I made. So last night I dug through my collection of patterns because it wasn't in the book that I thought it was. I was like going through and I'm like, oh no, I never made anything from this book, and I knew it wasn't a magazine. I knew it was in a pattern book, and I found it last night. So this was late 80s, and it was in a Fildar circular, very 80s, very 80s. And where is he?
Moment he notices he brought the wrong book.
No, this is it. There he is.
There he is.
He's very Mr. Ritchie. So, oh yeah. He's you know, I readily admit that I was a cheap, easy gal when I bought these pattern books, but even with I liked the pattern.
Yes.
So, I mean, for the 80s, this was a great looking pattern. And while I made the pattern, I did not use this type of yarn. So what I made didn't quite come out to this. I think I probably would have loved this had I made something that looked like this. But again, it was a case of, Liz, what did you convince me to make? Because I look at it, and the thing is, I know I wore this a lot. It's mohair. Can you see that pattern stitch on the front?
Well, with the light, with the
right
ring light shining on it, you
yeah, a little bit. With the right light, you can see a bit of it, but in most, it just was.
I
this.
promise you that when he originally pulled it out of the bag to show me when he got here, you can't see that pattern at all in person.
No. I mean, it's big and it's fuzzy and it's cozy, but it's like.
It is. I mean, it's got that mohair in there. It's very soft and fuzzy.
And I mean, I remember working on it because this was a travel piece. A friend of mine was living in New York. He was a traveling nurse, and it was summer, and he was in New York, and I went there for the long weekend for Pride, and I took the train. So on the train, I worked on this, and you know, I did all that pattern stitching, and you can't see it. You know, this was a great yarn. I mean, it is mohair, and it's a brown gray marl, and it's you know. But the pattern stitch was a waste of my time.
Yeah.
I could have just done stockinette and made the same sweater, and you know, it was just a V-neck.
Realize, you know, what we didn't do.
Yeah, we didn't take pictures, so we'll do that afterwards. That way you can put it here with me wearing it. But I knew I had this in my stash of vintage sweaters, and I'm like, this one has to be seen. Because anything after this would be more like something I made in the early 2000s. Not quite as, 1980s. How's that? And this one. I did not make either of those sweaters. He's cute. I mean, the front cover one, I mean, that's a nice sweater. Might not wear that, might not do that color, but like the pattern, the one in the pattern book, I mean, that's my color. That cobalt blue, But for some reason, Liz convinced me to get this mohair yarn. I blame her for all of those choices. So going forward, vintage knitting might be more of a 2000s vibe. I have a collection of vintage patterns. I have some pattern books from the 60s and 50s and 70s that are just far too humorous. So those might be making some appearances, so we can look at those and amuse ourselves. But that is vintage knits. So,
all right.
Next up would be our acquisitions.
I'll go a little bit. Stuff.
I have one.
I have a few, so I'll go first, I guess. Let's see, what shall we start with? Let's start with this little guy that's sitting right here next to me. How about that? So, don't worry, it's not plugged in, so I won't flash everybody. Cool. It's like the Pixar. Can you see? So this is an Light. I'm sure many people out there that are knitters, you've heard of these. This was something that I noticed was on sale at Joann's. My mom was asking me what I wanted for Christmas, and I was like,
you know what I could use?
It's like, I'd really love one of those, and so.
I didn't realize you were getting the one with the magnifier. I thought you were just getting the lamp.
Well, that's the thing, is that this one is the one that can sit on the floor, but you can also take this middle section out, and this comes off and goes into there, so it can be a desk lamp as well. So, I mean, I just told her I wanted one of them, and this just turns out to be the one that she got. This is how I've been making those TikToks, where it's looking down and I'm doing the knitting and everything. I just set the phone on top of here, and
aren't you fancy?
It's the only reason I wanted the Light was just so I could do TikToks.
Well, you're a social influencer,
right? I am.
Well, my cousin's middle daughter got a ring light for Christmas. I was the only member of the family who knew what it was. Because she's a TikToker. And I told my cousin, she's gonna be a social influencer.
So what did you get?
Well, I too got a little Christmas present. It was like, it's something I wanted. And I ordered it, and then my mother said, well, what do you want for Christmas? And I said, you know what, I ordered something. This will be my gift. You can just give me the money for it. So I got, a Mrs. Brown's bag. I've wanted one of these, because I just love the knit printed fabric. And she'd been pitting a few up, and there were some I'm like, I'm not really crazy about that yarn color. And this went in the shop and I'm like, ooh, that's nice. I like that. So I was like, do I want the large? Do I want the medium? And I just picked the size and ordered it. Funny thing is, Kevin from Needles at the Ready and Zach from Knack Chat both have the same one.
They do.
The exact same one, the same, it's olive something. Where's my notes? Where's my notes? It is the large canvas bottom tote olive U. Because I watched both of their episodes and they showed their totes and I'm like, hey, I have that too. So I was watching Needles at the Ready and I went onto Instagram and I saw Kevin's post and I said, hey, I'm just watching and I got the same tote.
Oh,
So that's my acquisition. Acquisition.
Right. Well, take a little bit of this stuff out of here that I can. So sticking with the bag theme, my brother actually
fancy.
surprised me with this. I didn't ask for this.
Fancy.
He bought me this very fancy bag. Oh goodness, I don't remember. Somewhere. Luxja, Luxja is the brand name on it. I imagine he probably found it on Amazon. But not only do I love a bag, I love a bag that has pockets. That has lots of pockets where I can just put everything into different places. And when I tell you the number of pockets that this thing has, like it's just, like it's got everything. Like it's got pockets in pockets in pockets. Now there's 2 pockets on each side. So you can see there, all these pockets that you can put your needles in. Then when you go inside, it's got my sweater in it.
Sweater.
And it does have 4 holes there, so if you're working on a colorwork project, you can just keep everything separated.
Smell you.
So then, yeah, go inside, and you can see there's that big pocket there, which actually contains my entire interchangeable set, and the pattern are both in that pocket. There are 2 of these side pockets here, and then on the other side there is a zippered pocket there. Like I said, this wasn't something that I asked for. My brother just sort of, he found it and he's like, oh, I thought you would really like this, and I was like, oh, well, you don't even know what a bag whore I am. And it's like, he basically won Christmas, I think. I've been using it quite literally every day because like, I'm working on the sweater every day. Now that it's through that hole, you can't take it out.
And you know, you have that long commute.
Yes,
to
long
work.
commute to work.
So,
But yeah, I absolutely adore that bag. I fully intend to search for it on the internet to see how much it is and if it comes in another color, because I could always use another one.
because you're a bad boy.
I am.
So is that it for your acquisitions?
Let's see. Oh. As you probably noticed by the big yarn on my shirt.
Yarn.
I got this shirt. My mom saw them on Facebook, and a friend of hers makes custom shirts. So she was like, hey, I saw these, can you make these for me? And she was like, oh, sure, whatever. So this one is, oh, the virus outside is frightful, but this yarn is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, another row, another row, another row. I know a lot of people have seen it on Facebook, like a lot of times in the winter. Actually, they do like, the weather outside is frightful or whatever. I thought this one was quite comical. There's another one very similar to this that I got that I couldn't find today. I know I've already worn it, so it's probably in the bottom of a dirty clothes hamper or something. But that one says, I rescue yarn from yarn shops. I'm not a hoarder, I'm a hero. So, that one.
Buying yarn and using yarn are two different hobbies.
Yeah, I mean, I am a hero. I rescue yarn from yarn shops. It's trapped there, and I rescue it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Doing our civic duty.
Anyways, that's it for me.
Okay. So that's that. Now it's just, do the YouTube things.
Yes,
Like, share, subscribe.
if you're already subscribed, don't hit the subscribe button again. We're afraid that maybe some people have been hitting the subscribe button every time because it seems like every time it goes up, then it goes down.
We
then it
get
goes
a
up,
few,
then
we
it goes
lose a
down.
few, and I think it's just there's some people who aren't amused by us, and well, you know what? We are who we are.
And
Not
you know what?
everyone is everyone's cup of tea.
If you want to do us a big favor, if you belong to any of those knitting groups on Facebook, because I know we've gotten a lot of people out of the ones that we belong to. If you belong to a knitting group, just take a second, hit the share button, copy the link, and just toss it in there. But yeah, share us with your friends. Like we said, we're probably going to do a giveaway of some sort at 500. So
Because we're hovering between 422 and 425.
like
We
we're
get up to 425, and
we go back down to
422, and it's like one subscriber. We get them, we lose them, we get them, we lose them. I don't know. And it's not like anyone's posting, you two are idiots, I hate you. Because that we'd find funny, and we would openly mock that person, which is probably why they don't do it. Because that is totally in our wheelhouse of jackassery.
Well,
But
I think
that's
all, folks.
Yeah. If there's anything you'd like us to see, we're trying to add something a little extra. I'm thinking maybe we should do a little trip locally, or bring in a guest whose booziness would coincide with ours.
Definitely.
I'd like to maybe do a trip to some of our local yarn shops now that it's limited servicing. We'd be going there with masks, and
we only have 2 left.
I think so. There's
So sad.
Because there's Ben's shop, and then there's Linda's.
Yeah.
So, but we have a few indie dyers who are members of our guild. I'm sure we can convince them to maybe do a zoom in with us.
Yes, there's definitely, and there's a woman that we're actually quite close with. That's part of our, not only part of the guild, but part of our knit night, that has recently become an indie dyer, that we got something in the works with her as well. So that'll be big news coming for you soon. So especially if we get to that 500 mark. But
so that's it, and I'm sure we're over an hour and a half now.
Oh, absolutely. Because we were over an hour before we stopped.
Yes, and we're over half an hour with this second portion. So we will say goodbye, and we will be back in 2 weeks. 2. And keep knitting, have fun, be safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, and all that good stuff. All right?